hear me? Oh my goodness, I was over here having a fun time and talking and looking at the chat, and I realized it wasn't recording. It wasn't streaming. So I want to just make sure that everything is good. You guys can see me. Everything's looking good. And because I was about to ask some questions and I realized it was not streaming. Now it looks like we're going. All right, give me the thumbs up. Give me the thumbs up. I had already started jumping in here, so I'm going to start over. All right, so here we are, you guys. If you guys are new, don't worry. We're going to go through the end time study one step at a time. That's what we're doing tonight. For those of you who are new, we look at how this is biblical, and we are looking at the end times very differently from the way that we've been taught in the modern church. And so what we're going to be doing is I've written this book, End Times and 1,000 Years of Peace. And so then I created this book. Hopefully you guys have it. This is the study guide. The study guide is where you guys go and you write down your answers the best you can. And really my goal, my hope and prayer is that you guys will be able to do this in such a way that it'll really you will go through the whole thought process. It's one thing to read the book. It's another thing for you to actually go through the thought process where you understand really the nuts and bolts and really understand it thoroughly backwards and forwards. And that's what's so great about us being able to do a live stream, is that we will be able to, if you guys have questions, that hopefully I'll be able to answer. We can go back and forth and I can answer your questions. And if I don't know the answer, then we will be able to work on it and maybe have for the next week. We're not in any rush. We did it on our small group study that actually you can find here on freedomforce.live, freedomforce.live. You will see all these videos here, video playlists. I'll go ahead and click to it real quick, and you'll see we have, if you scroll way down, you will see that we have done a lot of the studies right here on the small group end time studies. We've done 22 of them. So if you want to go back and look, but that was when the book was in process. So the screens will probably be different. But we did one each week. So we kind of had to really work hard. So we might not do one each week. We're just going to take this slowly. I want to make sure that you guys really understand it. And that's what's so great. The Lord told us that he would not, this would not be, he wouldn't reveal it until the end. And that's how we know this is the end, because now we've had the Great Awakening and we know things that we didn't know before. We didn't understand when it talked about these demons running the world. We just didn't know what that meant, really. And now we do, unfortunately. We understand what these people literally have taken in demons, and that they are put in these positions of authority so they can do very, very bad things to humanity. And this is the great day that they're being cast out. When it's the Great Awakening, we know that means they're being cast out. So this is very good news. Anyways, you can go and look on that if you want to. And here's where, if you haven't gotten the book already, it's right here on Amazon. Just type in End Times and 1,000, the number 1000, and you will it'll pop up. But you will have to find this. It wouldn't let me put in the word study guide. You'd have to put in the word beginners, End Times and 1,000 Years of Peace for beginners. And so we also have the answer key. But I want to make sure that you guys actually write down your answers, because it will really help you go through the process like what I had to go through. But I didn't have a study guide to guide me, except the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for guiding me through. All right, so are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? I want you guys to be able to answer. Yeah, that would be fun to do a Zoom, that'd be fun to see. At least we can see, the chat, and you guys write down some, whatever questions you have as we go through. Tonight we're doing the one which is the end times summary. We're going to start with that. We're going to kind of build a framework to understand where we're headed, and then we're going to be doing a deeper dive into the summary next time. Okay. All right. So before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and pray, and then we're going to jump in. Thank you so much, Lord, that you have written all these things down for us, and that you are the one who decodes this. You are the one who guides us into all truth. We thank you that you have led us all this way. You've been speaking to us and helping us to wake up and understand what's going on, and joining in your in your army. Thank you so much, Lord, that you are helping us to do that. Now, today, as we study, we just ask that you would help us so that we can really learn these things so well, so that we can help others when they wake up, when they're trying to understand what this means as far as the end times, and so that they can come out of this fear. Lord, we pray that everyone will be able to know that you are in complete control and that you are rescuing humanity from these evildoers, the New World Order, beast, and false prophet, and so that we can have these beautiful days that we're looking forward to in this millennial kingdom, 1,000 years of peace. We praise you and thank you that you are fulfilling your promises to us. Guide us as we study, and speak to us. And just bless our time together. And we pray this in your great name, Jesus, King Jesus. Amen. All right, you guys. Let's see. What's this? Oh, please don't tell me have to do it. No, I don't want to restart now. I'm going to restart my computer. No, I don't want to do that. All right. So y'all ready to get started? I'm hoping that you guys, there's a little tiny bit of a delay. So I'm going to just try to be watching the chat to see what questions you guys might have. So the first thing is to understand in the table of contents, we have, we're going to go just like I said, chapter by chapter. We might not do a whole chapter. If it gets too much, we'll just do, maybe a half a chapter. We'll just take it easy, take it kind of slow. But the first thing is the 6 stages of end times. This is a very brief summary. Many of you have already seen my video where I have just like a 4-minute summary of the book of Revelation, and then we'll just go basically about chapter. It's organized in the same ways as the chapters are in the book End Times and 1,000 Years of Peace. So today we're doing the 6 stages of end times. All right, and so the first, let's just look at this image right here, just so we can get I know it's a little blurry, but get us an understanding of that. The first thing is about the tribulation, and the first thing to understand about the tribulation is it's not what they led us to believe as far as nuclear holocaust and that the Lord is coming to indiscriminately destroy humanity. That is not what the tribulation is about. I've been thinking about this in the past week, and I think that you probably would agree with me that there have been lots of tribulations for many years, that so many people have struggled. We've had so many struggles on this earth. There's been the bubonic plague and world wars and just on and on and on. But we are living in a very interesting time that, outwardly it doesn't necessarily always look like this is a tribulation. What they led us to believe about a tribulation. We don't see, thank goodness, a nuclear war. But this is tribulation in this sense that it's every day we are under some type of barrage of deception, of some kind of horrible thing that happens, whether it's some kind of catastrophic hurricane or floods, or just some kind of terrible news that we hear about what these evil ones have been doing with children. I mean, it's just every day it's something else, something maddening, and where they lie to us. They take our money that should go to our American citizens. They send it over to other countries, and it's ended up in their pockets. The what's going on at the border. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The COVID and all this. This is this tribulation, just on and on and on. It's gone. I'm so thankful that we've been together during this time, so we haven't been, just completely just beside ourselves. We've been able to see through God, the Lord's eyes, and especially since He has sealed us so that we would not fall into the deception that so many have. Anyway, so that once you have, these kind of coincide, this tribulation has really been based upon this great awakening. When we awakened, that caused a lot of our tribulation. I mean, it's because it's just heartbreaking, right? So you got the great awakening, and then as soon as we woke up, we began to fight in the battle to say, what can I do to expose this evil? So there you have the Battle of Armageddon. I created this 7 years ago and saying this was now, well, it's still going on. Here we are 7 years in. But then, after we defeat them, after these are captured and cast out, then we enter into 1,000 years of peace on earth. Of course, it makes perfectly good sense. They have to be gone, and then we'll have this beautiful reign of Christ on earth. And as I've talked to you before about we'll have beautiful days of health and wealth and peace, and that our enemies will be gone. We'll have all that they've stolen from us will be back to us. We'll live, people won't be considered old at 100. Those types of things that I've told you many, many times. All right, so then after that, there's another battle. Don't want there to be another battle, but there has to be another battle in order to defeat death, our final enemy, death. And that's the Gog and Magog battle, which is not talked about very much at all. And then after that, we'll have our new bodies. That is really what some people call a rapture, where we have the new bodies that cannot die, and a new heaven and a new earth to go along with it. All right, so you guys probably already know about that, but let's get started with our study, starting on page. Let's see what page it is. Page 1. There you go. Let's go with page 1. So there was that picture right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and start asking some questions. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller. Yeah, I just said don't think Holocaust. Don't, but think wars. Think a pandemic. Think financial devastation. All this that's gone on. The deception upon deception. All brought to you courtesy of the New World Order. As it says, Matthew 24:21, there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again. And in fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person would survive, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. The Lord's going to shut this down. He's not going to let them do some of the evil plans that they intend. Okay, so here's your first question. Y'all ready? Number 1, humanity has been under a barrage of attacks for a long time, ramping up significantly in the past 7 years, from the deception to the wars and the rumors of wars, to the financial crises, to the pandemic, to the constant 1984 SIPs. Was this the tribulation you expected? Yeah, it'd be nice if I could hear your guys' voices giving me some answers. But is this what you had expected it to be? So you guys can put in the chat what you maybe have written down in your study guide, what you thought it would be. And I think that many of us had been led to believe that it was going to be a nuclear holocaust. We had been led to believe that there was going to be, it was going to be Mad Max from Thunderdome, remember? And actually, Elon the other day was talking about that. He was like, yeah, this is exactly, if we don't do something now, it's not just watching a movie of Mad Max. We'll be living in the movie Mad Max. And that's why he's out and working so hard in Pennsylvania. All right, so this is, to be honest, this is probably one of the toughest things to help people understand, because they have been led to believe it's going to be this nuclear holocaust. But once... And this is a harder thing. I'm warning you now. When you try to talk to someone, you probably already know, but when you try to talk to someone about tribulation, if they're not awake, if they don't understand the crimes against humanity, the crimes against children, they will not understand what you're talking about. They will not. They'll say, "Oh no, that hasn't happened yet." But if they will wake up to the trafficking of children and what's been going on under our feet, as far as like what has been disclosed here just in the past, since the Feast of Trumpets, that you've got these the crimes against children in these tunnels underneath Diddy's house. This and of course with Epstein, all that coming out, that really helps people to maybe catch on to the fact that this is demonic. This is demonic, and they can look at the music. They can look at the music industry, and really, when you look at everything they do, all of their deception, it's the madness of it. It's really from the pits of hell, because it's so demonic, the lies that they tell. It's a continual barrage of lies. Okay, so J-Lift said no. I thought we would be gone. A very good point. Thank you so much for saying that, J-Lift. That is a very, very important point. Yeah, many of us did not think that we would be here for this, because we would be gone. And that's a very good. So tell me, you guys. Maybe someone can put in the chat what you think. What is a good way to help people grapple with that, and understand that we're not leaving earth. It's his kingdom come, his will be done on earth. It's a hard one because they really did a number on us to brainwash us into thinking that. Hang on real quick. My mouth has been so dry. D.A. Bird said, I remember all the tribulation movies when I was a child. They were so scary, but finding out what's really going on is so much worse. That's true. That's true. It's hard. It's hard to face these truths. You're very right. It is true. It's very hard to realize that there are people who would be so evil to actually intend harm, with all the things that the jab and all of that. It is a hard thing. All right, so Tammy Webb says, does this study follow along with the chapters of the book? Yes, it does. The study guide matches exactly with the book. So here's the study guide, and here's the book, okay? And they follow along chapter by chapter in the book. And the thing is, the study guide is going to be, obviously has the places where we can write down it's question and answer. Okay, so remind them the world is run by the father of lies, and not to be surprised we were lied to about end times. Very good point. Thank you, Koala Bear. Very good point. Yeah, because we've been misled. And of course, there would be great deception. We were told that. Yes, exactly, Kim. They're doing so many things to us. Yeah, it is a healthy dose of Mad Max. It is. We have had a very big dose of Mad Max. All right, so that's okay. So and we'll get into this more when we deep dive into each of the chapters of the Book of Revelation. But I'm just trying to help everyone see the basically the summary here, that the first thing is the tribulation, and then the next step is this great awakening. And we had read, come on, little mouse, we had read about Elijah with the dead dry bones, and I just didn't understand that was going to be what humanity was going to experience. Did you guys know that? I didn't realize that was what we were going to experience. I thought of a great awakening as more of a religious revival. Didn't you guys? I thought of it more as a religious revival, not as much as of awakening to understanding the evil that had been going on in the world. They didn't obviously want us to even consider that, because they didn't want us to believe that there was evil. They wanted us to think that we were evil, but not that there was a group that was literally doing evil to us and literally causing the wars and stealing from us and all that. We just thought, it's because there's Democrats and Republicans, and they can't get along, and they whatever, back and forth. All right, so let's go into the Great Awakening. That's this particular portion that I wrote here brings up Ezekiel 37, which is the amazing vision that that Ezekiel had, and I'll read this portion to you. It says, he said to me, this angel, speak a prophetic message to the winds, son of man, speak a prophetic message. Say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, O breath from the four winds, breathe into these dead bodies so they may live again. So I spoke the message as he commanded me, and breath came into their bodies. They all came to life, and they stood up on their feet, a great army. And I knew this story. I'm sure all of you guys did, but I did not imagine that this was going to be what humanity was going to experience. So for those of you who are in the same boat, because we really never spent time reading Habakkuk and Joel and Zephaniah, and that explains why we were led to believe that these were ancient books and that we didn't, it was just history. It was just history books. That's not what it was. Okay, so if you look here on this book right here, End Times, Major Clues from Minor Prophets. If you haven't read that book or listened to the audiobook that's over on freedomforce.live, you might check that out, because that is so helpful because they told us. We just never read those books. We never studied those books in church. We stayed pretty much in the Gospels and maybe in the Old Testament Psalms and in the beginning of Genesis, but we didn't really do a lot of studying in the minor prophets. But they were telling us about this day when we would wake up and realize that demons had been running the world. Ugh. Anyway, all right, so I want to ask you that question. Let me see what the question is. Number two, do you feel that the breath of God has breathed into you and you stood up and you joined the fight. Anybody feel that way? I do. I'm very thankful. I know you guys, most of you are. You felt like the one day you were asleep, and then the next day you were ready, you were awake, and you were wanting to study and find out what's going on. As hard as it was to research. I actually saw a lady today that I hadn't seen for 2 years, and she said, ever since I saw you, I've been studying and researching, and I'm just finding out more and more. She says it's a lot. I said, yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. So so many people are doing that. Back in the day when I woke up, there really wasn't as nearly as much information readily available as there is now. So yes, at Marge Mosley, yes, absolutely. Koala Bear, yes, so blessed. Aaron Polly, yes. Oh yes, I feel very different from everyone. J-Liff. Well, I'm glad you guys are all here because we all feel the same way, and the Lord has awakened us. And we're going to talk here in a little, in the next couple of weeks about how the Lord sealed us so that we could be, protected, so that we could be in this fight. It's a big deal. He needed us to be able to stand and fight in this battle, and He's kept us in here fighting ever since, which is really exciting. All right, so Linda Skiba, I remember being told that last of the Old Testament books did not pertain to us anymore. I did too, Linda. That's exactly what I was told too, or that's what I was led to believe. Yeah, that was just ancient history. Exactly. I grew up in Christian church every day and never heard of these books. Why? Well, we know now why. I just shared this week about the Schofield Bible, which is really to lead us to believe that Israel can do no wrong. And of course, we know that there's been infiltrators that have taken over Israel. Don't even get me started on that. But the thing that we realize now is that even though your church might not have use the Schofield Bible. It's not really the Bible as much as it's the study notes that went along with it. And so you'd read a passage and then it would explain it in the way they wanted you to understand it. And unfortunately, it infiltrated the seminaries. So many of the pastors who were churned out of these seminaries, had these thought processes because they thought that was the truth. So that's the situation that we have found ourselves in. But yes, so this is what happened. The Holy Spirit awakened us. That's what's so amazing. The Spirit of God breathed into us. So I just, you probably have felt this way too, that many years you're like, I feel like the Lord is speaking to me. I feel like He's talking to me. And not just through a preacher, but He really, speaks to me through His Word. And now you realize He has been. He really has been, and that you've been listening to Him, and He chose to touch your heart and to awaken you. It's really, a very great confirmation, and I want you to really feel very thankful and very blessed that you were chosen for this. It's quite an honor to be one of His chosen warriors in this battle. All right, so then of course. Yeah, don't feel that way. Just come on here, D.A. Bird. Don't feel isolated. I understand it is difficult because most people around us maybe are still not really getting it. But you've got us. We're all here. We're all here together, and that we are. The Lord selected us as like the Omer, the hand-picked bundle. Lisa Doig, you're saying it was difficult. Got it. Oh, your husband's eyes are open now. That's terrific. Yeah, it's difficult because not everyone wakes up at the same time and has the same fervor. But I'm so glad that now you guys are good now. That's great. Same with my marriage. Very good. But yes, very blessed to be chosen. I'm so glad. We've been able to. And I also think it's kind of like this that. When you first wake up, it's like when you first receive Christ and you're so excited and you want to tell everybody everything and you're just, chatterbox. And I think that we're still in this battle as fierce as we've always have been, but we have tempered it because we understand we have to put a little, maybe sprinkle a little salt and a little pepper, not just inundate them with salt, right? All right. So once we woke up, of course, it was for a reason. So our reason for waking up was the Battle of Armageddon. We're currently fighting the Battle of Armageddon. This is it. We thought it was going to be nuclear war. We thought it was going to be a battle on a field in the Middle East. But that was when it talks about that was symbolism that we're going to be on this battlefield. but it's not what what we had been led to believe. This is a digital war. This is an information war. It's a war for the minds of the people, and even to this minute they continue to pummel out these lies. And so it's our job every day, as we continue to do over on our social media. If you're new here and you don't know, we actually go on, we have our social media right here. If you scroll to our website, freedomforce.live, you'll see the social media. Let me go back to that page. If you go right here, you will see all the social media right on this link right here. You'll find our video channels and our social media, and we are sharing this information, and we are not just gathering information, we actually share it out. And that's our role. That's the job that the Lord has assigned to us, to share information far and as wide as we possibly can. So this is what the Battle of Armageddon really is all about, is to it's not thankfully, I don't have to have shoot anybody. I just have to shoot truth bullets, right? We couldn't have imagined the digital battlefield any more than John could have. We're literally fighting from our mobile phones and our laptops. How cool is that? And so we're not in any danger, except that we can be kicked off of social media, which all of us, that's happened to all of us. That's okay. So I'm going to read to you guys Joel chapter 2. The attackers march forward like war horses and scale city walls like soldiers. Straight forward they march, never breaking rank. They never jostle each other. Each moves in exactly the right position. They break through the defenses without missing a step. They swarm over the city and run along its walls. They enter all the houses, climbing like thieves through the windows. This was a picture of the army that the Lord gave us in the book of Joel chapter 2. And again, I just, I did not know what Joel was talking about. I didn't get it. I would read it and it just was a closed book, and it wasn't time yet. And, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't really feel bad. It was not time. It wasn't time for the Great Awakening. And then there was a day when it was time. It was time. It was time. Thank you, Marge. So you found a kindred spirit. Yes, I do. I'm so thankful that we're all these kindred spirits here. I'm so thankful that we are here together. So when you go down on freedomforce.live and you scroll down to the bottom, you will see this beautiful sign of the Son of Man. And that was when, that was right at that time, it was the beginning of the Great Awakening. Now, many of us had awakened up maybe a little before that, but we started to really step it up when 17 started posting in October, 1 month after this sign. And after that, the information just came at us like just talk about truth bullets, just coming at us from just fast as they could go. And so that's really what was the catalyst for so many people to awaken and the battle to start. That was the starting of the battle. And so number 3, answer this question. How are we falling on the sword and not being wounded digitally? How is that? Pretty cool, huh? Because that's exactly what it says will happen. We're not, we're not even being wounded. Also, number 4, I'll go ahead and ask this question. How are we entering in at the windows? Now, most of these questions I have actually answered in the book, okay? So if you've read the book or listened to the audio book over on freedomforce.live, you'll know it. And I also have on this one, this is actually, you've got the answer key. Let me see if I can pull that up. This one has the answer. It's the most of the answers are here in the book. But if you actually really to go and see the answers on a line, you will see them right here in the answer key. If you're looking for the study guide, it's got to be End Times and 1,000 Years of Peace for beginners. That's how you can find it. Crazy deal. I couldn't name it study guide, which was very, very strange, but whatever. All right, so anybody have an answer for me on that one? So thankful. Yes, I love it too, Linda. Through the internet, through the airwaves. Yes. So yes, that's how we're entering in through the windows. Is that what your question, your answer is, Marge? We're entering in at the windows. We're posting something online, and you may never know who has read your post. You may never know who it was, but you had an effect and who they might have shared it with. And that's how it works. It's amazing. They built this, and they did not realize that we were going to use this to destroy them. And that's what it was talking about. And John could not have imagined what this was, or Joel, when he was writing this, they could not have imagined what this war would look like. I couldn't have imagined it even before we had social media. It's amazing that I can sit in my office and we can join together. How cool is this that we can do this, and then maybe a year later someone can watch this video in the privacy of their home and no one can stop them because they're just watching, unless they ban the channel. Okay, so that's what number 3 is about. You may have an answer for number 3. Number 3 is about falling on the sword and not being wounded. So I think that is where, yes, we've been taken out of the battle. For example, 17 calls it the digital battlefield, and we might be on X, or we might have been on Twitter, or Joel, or on YouTube or whatever. But we have been kicked off of that. But it didn't hurt. It hurt our feelings, and it hurt us and frustrated us in the battle. But we were just picked up another weapon and went to fight over on Rumble or wherever, some other place. So that's really what it is about. That we're not wounded. We're just so we can continue in the battle. All right. So yep, very good, Aaron Polly. They just ban us, right? I was talking to someone today how I'm just so. I can't wait for YouTube to be an open platform again. That's going to happen. Google's going to be straightened out, and YouTube will be straightened out. We can have freedom of speech again. Yeah, and it may happen pretty soon when Trump comes in there, because they cannot just ban people and relinquish us to sitting over in a corner and talking to people over in the corner. That's not where we're going forward in the millennial kingdom at all. All right, so the next thing is, again, going back to our little picture that we're talking about, this summary, we've talked about the tribulation. Does anybody have questions about the tribulation? Do you feel like that you have a really good handle on these 3 so far, the tribulation, the Great Awakening, and the Armageddon battle? Again, we're going to go into deep dives as we go through the book. This is just a summary, of course, but, I just want to make sure that everyone is on the same page that this is the battle. It's the battle for the hearts and minds of the people. It's the battle to help everyone wake up and understand the truth about what's going on and all the evil that they have done. And it's not just a difference of opinion. It's pure evil, okay? And this battle of Armageddon is to destroy the evil, to destroy those who are literally doing evil in our country and in the world. All right, so the millennial reign of Christ is the next one. What is that? Okay, I'm going to have a question for you about that. Let me read this little paragraph. The Bible gives us several glimpses into the beautiful future on earth that's coming soon. The beast, the false prophet, and Satan will be cast out, and we will have health and wealth and peace, and Christ will rule on earth. Jesus told us to pray, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and he meant it. Write down a Bible verse that tells us of our bright future without wars. So does someone have one that they want to share that they wrote down? Imagine this day when there will be no more wars. No more of that. So does anybody have one? I can pull up the Isaiah 2 if you want me to. And I'll just wait. I'll let you guys go ahead and type one in. Here's Isaiah 2. It says here, starting in verse 3, people from many nations will come and say, come, let's go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of Jacob's God. There he will teach us his ways, and we'll walk in his paths. For the Lord's teaching will go out from Zion. Zion is the city of God. It's not, don't think of a physical place. It's about God's people, wherever they are. And his word will go out from Jerusalem. The Lord will mediate between nations and will settle international disputes. I was thinking about this today when I heard President Trump talking about how stupid Bolton was, because he was always wanting to start some kind of war. And then when President Trump would have a meeting with Putin and he would see that Bolton was in there, he's like, oh no, Trump's going to start a war. But of course, Trump was calling him an idiot because Bolton an idiot because President Trump doesn't want to start a war. He wants to stop the wars. He wants to stop the killing. right? The Lord will mediate between nations and will settle international disputes. They will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will no longer fight against nation nor train for war anymore. Awesome. Okay, so does anybody else have a verse that you wanted to share? I was using, yes, Aaron Polly, they will not train for war. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Awesome. Yes, on earth as it is in heaven. Yes. Okay. So if anybody has one, let me know for that. Just you can just type it in as we go along. And then the next one is question number 6. Write down a Bible verse that tells us of our bright future of health and longevity. Of course, you guys know that one by heart, right? Tell me what verse it is. What verse is it, you guys? Because you've heard me say it so many times, but you can tell me other passages that you have thought of. Isaiah 65:20. One of our favorites. No longer will people be considered old at 100. No longer will people be considered old at 100. When it says only the cursed will die that young, it'll be like, that's crazy. No one's going to just live to be 100, right? It's not really talking about a curse being on them. It's talking about would be ridiculous to think that anyone would only live to be 100. It's going to be that obvious, and just get ready. And I just did a video yesterday about healing. So many things. The AMA has led us down the wrong path completely, but we're going to have true healing. I'm so ready for healers. I'm so ready for our bodies to be well. Just can't even wait. All right. So, does anybody else have one that they wanted to share? Living. Oh, yes. Living as long as trees. What verse is that? It's right in there. Thank you. I'm going to actually pull up the whole thing. Isaiah 65. What verse is that one? Isaiah 65. Right in there. Yes. Thank you so much, Aaron. That's a great one. I love that one. If you guys are new here, this is such good news. You got to check into Isaiah 65. I have a friend of mine who just had a birthday. We celebrated his birthday, and I told him about this passage. Here we go. It's verse 22. For my people will live as long as trees, and my chosen ones will have time to enjoy their hard-won gains. How about that? I love it. I could read the whole thing. I could get started on Isaiah 65 and never finish our study. I love that one so much. As long as trees. Isn't that awesome? Okay, these beautiful, long, healthy lives. Long, healthy lives. You will see your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. Just think about Moses. Noah and Abraham were contemporaries. They were hundreds of years apart. These people lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. All right, number 7, write down a Bible verse that tells us of our bright future with worldwide financial stability. Does anybody have one that they wanted to use? Yes, I got the Isaiah 65. You guys have one for the financial stability. You have a passage that you want me to punch in? I can use 13:22. Proverbs 13:22. All right, things I need a new mouse or a new battery because this one's not doing right. Proverbs 13:22. All right, there we go. Good people leave their inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. So we kind of thought that this was really just talking about, and it is something that's built into the world when evil people don't continue to be blessed, but it's also talking about all that they have stolen from us is going to come back to us. Let me pop to Habakkuk chapter 2. I'll read this one because this one is a great one for that very thing. It says, suddenly, your debtors will take action, and they will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling and helpless. Because you plundered many nations, now the survivors will plunder you. Plunder as in taking all they have. They will take all you have while you stand trembling and helpless. This is what's going to happen. So when you see that what they've done and they're sending all this money over to whoever, and it's going right back in their pockets, just know they're still. We already know that they're still confiscating their assets because of their crimes against humanity. We know that. So they have to keep stealing some more. But everything that they stole is coming right back to us. So Don't worry. And just remember Habakkuk chapter 2. All right, I'm going to actually punch that one in there on that question so people will have that one too. Okay, right now down a Bible verse that tells us of our bright future with Christ as King living on the earth. Did anybody else have another verse? The wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Thank you, Aaron Polly. Thanks, Coast Rider. Thanks, Coast Rider. That's so sweet of you to say that. I'm so glad to get to do this too. I'm so thankful. So thankful. It's y'all don't even know. The Lord's blessing me to be able to teach this to you guys and share all this wonderful information and piece it together, because He knows I taught for so long, and it was like so hard because they didn't always really take it seriously, and they were just, sometimes didn't listen, but you guys just gobbled up like with a spoon and a fork, what makes me so, so happy. All right, so back to this. Zephaniah 3:15. And how did we not know Zephaniah was so amazing? It breaks my heart that all these years we've missed out on Zephaniah. Look at this. Zephaniah 3:15. I almost think of it as like John 3:16, but Zephaniah 3:16, 3:15 and 16. For the Lord will disperse the armies of your enemy. The Lord himself, the King of Israel, will live among you. At last your troubles will be over, and you will never again fear disaster. You'll never again fear financial crisis. You'll never again fear a COVID. You'll never again fear a hurricane. You'll never again fear an earthquake. You'll never again fear what these evildoers will do to us. You'll never have to worry about that ever again. I can't even imagine. Oh, never again. Cheer up. Don't be afraid, for the Lord your God is living among you. He is a mighty Savior. He will take delight in you with gladness. With his love, he will calm all your fears. He will rejoice over you with joyful songs. All right. And when I would see that verse, I didn't catch this first part where it talks about the Lord himself will live among you. The 17, for the Lord your God is living among you. I don't know. I saw that verse, but I've seen that little chunk at different places. But as far as like he rejoices over you with songs, with joyful songs, but I didn't catch that. Are y'all? Is that what you experienced too? You saw Zephaniah and him rejoicing over you with joyful songs, but not that he was going to live on earth with us. We just didn't have that vision. That was not the vision. This is the vision that I want everyone to have. I want you to have the vision of end times for the bad guys and 1,000 years of peace for us, with the Lord living amongst us, and just the blessings that we just can't even imagine. Actually, President Trump's been talking about this golden age. Did you guys hear that this week? He's been talking about the golden age. Isn't that awesome? All right, and then the next one is the Gog and Magog battle. All right, now, this is what they never talk about. They never talk about the Gog and Magog battle, because if you do, then everything, their end times narrative falls apart. When I began to realize that the end times, the Gog and Magog battle, is after the 1,000 years of peace on earth, I realized, oh no, that's when we have death conquered. That is when we receive our new bodies. That's what the Gog and Magog battle is about. And no one really talked about it. It's actually, I think it's chapters 37 and 38 of Ezekiel. Yeah, Ezekiel. No one ever really talked about it, except as a fear-mongering tactic to say Gog and Magog is this big battle, in Armageddon, during Armageddon. And that's not the case. That is not the case. The Gog and Magog battle is after the 1,000 years of peace on earth. Here I'll read Revelation chapter 20. After it's gone through and the beast and the false prophet have been cast into the abyss. Then it says he will go out to deceive the nations called Gog and Magog in every corner of the earth. He'll gather them together for battle, a mighty army as numberless as the sand along the seashore. And I saw them as they went on the broad plain of the earth and surrounded God's people and the beloved city. But fire from heaven came down from the attacking army and consumed them. Now, by the time we would get to this portion in Revelation, I think most of us had been just so confused. We were so confused because, and also whenever we would study it in church, in the church setting, it was always Oh, are you millennial, premillennial, postmillennial, amillennial, all these are, but so we never really studied the book of Revelation. But again, either way, it was a closed book. The Lord says, I'm not going to disclose this until it's the right time, until the right moment. All right. So now, when you see though the Gog and Magog battle, you realize this is a separate battle entirely from Armageddon. It's a totally separate battle after the 1,000 years of peace on earth. Okay, this Gog and Magog. All right, let me go back up to this page right here. And it says, then verse 10, the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire, fiery lake of burning sulfur, joining the beast and the false prophet. And they'll be tormented day and night forever. In other words, he never comes out again after this battle of Gog and Magog. It does sound really, really scary. And it sounds like, this fiery heat. It says fire from heaven. It kind of reminds you of that thing that when Elijah, the Lord sent down the lightning bolt that licked up the sacrifice and the altar and all that, right? It kind of reminds you of that. All right, so okay, I'm going to add see what you guys say about Gog and Magog. I thought Gog and Magog was the Battle of Armageddon. Yeah, me too. They got us so confused on that. Yep. We thought it was all part of one of the battles in this war of Armageddon. Yep, I did too. Okay, and so, but this, if that when I understood that Gog and Magog was after the 1,000 years of peace on earth, if you can help someone understand that, this can help them to go, wait a minute, I've been misled. I actually had a conversation with someone, and I let them talk and say all they wanted to say. It's a really good, important thing. If you're going to talk to someone about it, say just, tell me what your thoughts are on end times, what you believe. And then it didn't add up at the end, because then what happens? Okay, then we go to heaven and then we come back, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. But when you say we have the tribulation, we awaken, we fight the battle of Armageddon to cast out the beast and the false prophet, then we have 1,000 years of peace on earth, the millennial reign of Christ. Then after 1,000 years, we have this final battle to cast out Satan forever and kill and get rid of death, conquer death. No more death at that point. Then it makes perfectly good sense. And it also matches with other passages like in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as unexpectedly as a thief. Then the heavens will pass away with a terrible noise, and the very elements themselves will disappear in fire, and the earth and everything in it will be found to deserve judgment. This is what it's talking about in Revelation chapter 20, verse 9. This fire coming down from heaven, all this, the things of this earth will be burned up, but turned to gold. Imperishable, incorruptible, okay? So they won't be, you think of, whatever, a bottle of water. It'll no longer be a little bottle of water with the paper on the outside that we've been accustomed to for, whatever. I don't know what's going to be like in the 1,000 years, but it won't be that. It'll be something incorruptible. It'll be incorruptible. The paper, whatever it is, I don't even know what we'll have in 1,000 years, but the flowers will be incorruptible. The books will be incorruptible. The dirt will be incorruptible. All the elements, it will be incorruptible. It won't be able to be broken. It'll be beautiful and not corruptible. And we will be incorruptible. We will be transformed. That's when we are transformed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, that we cannot be corrupted, that we cannot be harmed, we cannot die. How cool is that? And everything on it will be found to deserve judgment. Okay, so with this, I don't know that that's the best translation. I think what it really means is after that, there's going to be a judgment, and some will be judged to have done righteous deeds, and some will be judged to have done evil deeds. Okay? All right. So it kind of, the way it looks, it almost makes it look like, well, everybody's evil and they're all in trouble. And that's not clearly, from other passages, we know that's not what the truth is. Okay. So did anybody have a question about that? Yeah. Hal Lindsey. Yeah. Hal Lindsey was one of those kind of who went along with the Schofield teaching. And yeah. All right. So did anyone have a question about any of these? Did anybody have, I don't guess I had a question on this section. I didn't have a question on that section right there. But does anybody have any thoughts that there were any questions about that section right there. Revelation 20:10 explains the same as 2 Peter chapter 3. That's what I believe that is talking about. I think they're parallel passages. Revelation 20 verses 9 and 10, whatever, where you see this fervent heat, this destruction. That is exactly what Peter was talking about in 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10, when everything will be transformed. Will be and that's also actually another parallel passage is right here that we're going to be talking about coming up in 21, where it's the new heaven and the new earth merge. And so imagine the people in heaven they're incorruptible. Okay, and they don't have their new bodies yet, but nothing in heaven can be corrupted. So heaven and earth merge so that there's no more corruption anywhere. Okay, with humanity, with the earth, with heaven. Okay. And then let's see, new heaven and new earth, Revelation 21, verses 1 through 4. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was gone. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from heaven, from God, out of heaven, like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, "Look, God's home is now among his people." But you're like, well, I thought you said he was living amongst us before. Well, yes, but now his home, his throne. Everything, his throne is here. It's heaven and earth have merged. Okay, and I think of it like that. You could go anywhere. You can go to heaven. You can go to earth. You can go anywhere. Right now we're separated, but then there will be no more separation. Okay, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There'll be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. No more separation. That's really what death is a separation. No more separation. All these things will be gone forever. And the one sitting on the throne said, "Look, I'm making everything new." And then he said, "Write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true." All right, so now, number 9, write a Bible verse about the beautiful new heaven and the earth. You can use verse 3, 1 through 3 if you want to, or did anyone else have a passage that they wanted to share about the new heaven and the new earth? Did anyone have one? Okay, and okay. Coach Roberts asking a question: are believers who have died asleep now until the appointed time? Well, okay, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, Coach Ryder. You know how the Lord says in His Word that absent from the body, present with the Lord. The moment you pass, your spirit goes to be with the Lord, and you are there with Him and with your others in heaven. So they're not. Sometimes it calls them asleep, but their bodies are sleeping. Okay, their bodies are waiting for the rapture or the resurrection or whatever you want to call it, when we are transformed and have the new bodies. Okay, it also calls it in Romans chapter 8. It says the redemption of the body, or the adoption. Waiting for the adoption of the body, so that when our bodies are transformed into incorruptible. It also talks about this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, specifically 51 and 52, where it says, "Behold, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye." So they're not asleep. They're there with the Lord, but they don't have their bodies. They're waiting for their bodies to be transformed and made incorruptible. So they don't. But their future is to have their incorruptible bodies. And I talk about that in the last chapter of the book, because that's actually the evildoers actually get their bodies too, and that actually adds to their torment, because their bodies have been are just a place of suffering, more suffering. Okay, so the lion and the lamb. The lion laying down with the lamb. I love that. Yes. And so, and think of this as, I have to think about that as far as the new heaven and the new earth, that, I'm sure there'll be animals there too, and just everything at peace. I think we'll have a lot of that during the millennial kingdom, though, also. So imagine this beautiful, the beautiful bride dressed for her husband. I really think this is talking about it's about the beauty of the earth is in the deeds of the people. Remember that passage talks about the impure white linen, which are the deeds of the people, of God's people. The beauty is of everyone having peace and enjoying each other, and no one abusing anyone, and just being able to relax. I just saw a video today of what it's like in Dubai. It seems like kind of heavenly. The guy literally laid his wallet and his keys and his watch, a very nice watch, on the top of his car, and when he went into a store and he came back out and it's sitting there. It's just sitting there. No one was going to touch it. He said no one takes anything. Because everyone has everything that they need, but just it's not in their heart to take something. It's in the heart of people to help and to give and to share and all that. And that's the thing that gets you in the fields when you see people who are there helping others, especially when they are struggling themselves. So this is the beautiful dressing, is that the beautiful, what will make the earth even more beautiful than everything being gold, is just everyone being good and kind and just loving and wonderful, and just everything good going on in the earth. No more of this mayhem. Look, God is now, his home is now among his people. He will live with them and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. No more tears at all. All right. So that's the summary of the first chapter. So that wasn't so hard, was it? Yeah, okay, so soul is with him until reunited with the former body. But, and a much improved one. Yes, an improved body that can never die and can never get sick. And, or no more crying, no more pain. Yes. God is perfect, can't have impurity around him. Believers' souls are pure, but bodies are corruptible until and it talks about that in Romans. It talks about the flesh, that sin dwells in my flesh. So it does kind of separate out that this is, my spirit is being renewed, but I'm still in this body that it tends to sin. It kind of blames it on, it's like the way the Romans, Paul wrote it. I think Paul wrote the book of Romans. He kind of blames sin on the body, that this flesh. And so one day we'll have this new body that will not be corruptible. So that's a very interesting way that he looks at it. All right, that's the summary. That's the first chapter. All right, so next week we're going to do chapter 2, and it's going to be a little bit longer, and we'll probably, I don't know if we're going to be able to do the whole thing next week or not. We'll just go the best we can. We'll go, we're not going to rush. I want to make sure that we get a really good understanding. This mouse, anyway. We're going to get a good understanding of the book of the summary of basically an outline of the book of Revelation, and you're going to really enjoy it. So that's your homework for this week, is to really try to wrap your head around what this I just cannot seem to get this mouse to do. Okay, come on. Yeah, to wrap your head around the outline of the book of Revelation, and that's what we're going to talk about next week. So this is what I would do if you're going to study this. And you are going to study it. There's no if. What I want you to do is just at first, don't do the smaller bullet points. Just work on the big bullet points so that you understand the big picture, the big items, the throne and the scroll and the lamb, then the 7 seals, and then the sealing of the army, and this great multitude, and then the 7th seal. I need to move that 7th seal over. Anyway, and then you've got the 7 trumpets, right? And then you've got the players of Revelation. You've got the key players, as well as the woman and the dragon. I want you guys, to just work on these main bullet points. And then the 2 beasts. Who are they? Most of you already know who the 2 beasts are. The New World Order cabal and the false prophets. And then the Lamb and the 144,000. All right, and then you've got the 7 bowls. So the 7s are the seven seals, the 7 trumpets, and then the 7 bowls. Okay, and then we've got the Babylon and the interlude to praise the Lord, because this is where we are. We're praising Him because we realize now that we're awake, this is the end of it. We realize that who's been doing this, and the Lord's going to rescue us. Beautiful, and then how Christ destroys Babylon and begins to rule on earth. All right, and then that's where we're going to get to, and until after 1,000 years later, then it goes into the Gog and Magog battle. We just talked about the white throne judgment and the new heaven and the new earth, and then the conclusion of Revelation. All right, that's going to be it's going to be a lot. We're going to do the best we can, and we're going to take it slowly. And so be ready. Write down any questions that you have, and prepare so that when we get together, you can pop them into the chat, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Okay. And then once we do that, again, we're trying to help you see a big picture of the Book of Revelation. Then we're going to start diving into each chapter at a time. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we go? Yes, wish the whole world understood this too. That is the challenge. Thank you, Coach Ryder. That is exactly our challenge. The Lord has awakened us to know the truth about end times. The church is completely asleep. They're petrified about what's going on, and they figure this is the end. We're going to, they're all hiding under the bed, and they're afraid this is a nuclear holocaust is coming, and or we have to escape out of here, and all of this. And that's not the truth. The truth is, we're about to destroy them. They missed it entirely. They missed Armageddon because they weren't listening. They didn't keep their lamps turned up bright to listen to the Lord. And ultimately, they were not chosen for this. Not everyone was chosen for this. So there's that. But I'm so thankful that we were. And so eventually, when it's the Lord's the exact right time, He's going to awaken them. And that's our charge, is to be ready to help them to understand. Okay? That's what our charge is. That's the role, the assignment the Lord has given to us. There's a lot of assignments in this battle of Armageddon, and that is ours. So I'm very thankful that we're here together, and this is what we're going to do to help everyone understand. All right, I think that's it. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you made it, at least for the end, Pure Blood Sailor. But we always have the video on there for you to watch afterward. Linda, this is the NLT version. The NLT. I use a lot of different versions, and I compare them, but in my books, I've been trying to just keep it as the NLT because I think it's super, super easy to follow. Yes, thank you, Missy. You don't even know I was called Missy all my growing up years. Thank you, Missy. You're welcome. Yes, FEMA is evil. All right, I think that's everything. If anybody has any questions, I'll still be on the chat for a few more minutes. Okay, I want to make sure is everything going? I want to make sure everything's going. Yes. All right, I think that's everything. And let's pray before we go. Thank you again, Lord. And just ask your blessing on us as we study and try to fulfill this role that you have given us to do. And you've seen us through this far, so that we're all learning and piecing all this together. Lord, you have chosen us for this job, and I know that you will help us to understand it so that we can help others to understand it. I just pray you bless our efforts, bless our time together, bless the study that everyone does. Because this is very important. I know this is what you really want your people to not be afraid. And we want them to know, you want them to know the good news of the kingdom. And I'm so thankful that we get to share good news, that we have beautiful, bright, amazing days ahead. This golden age is upon us. And we don't have to hide under the bed. And thank you so much, Lord. I pray your blessing on everyone in the battalion, and pray you just touch their hearts and their minds as they study and to know your word, and help us to fight in this battle until we cast these evildoers out. We pray all this in your wonderful name, King Jesus. Amen. All right, guys, I love you. I love you. I got to jet out of here. I've got a place I got to go. Yes. Was always so sad for our unsaved family about learning the truth about no rapture. But the great news is the Lord's rescuing all of us. We're not leaving. No one's leaving. The only one's leaving is the bad guys. So we don't have to be sad. Don't worry. Your family members are going to be fine. The Lord is rescuing all of us. How about that? Isn't that great? Isn't that good news? I love the good news of the kingdom. All right, guys. I guess that's it. I love you. So if you missed some of it, go back and listen to the whole thing and do your homework. Do your homework. And I guess that's it. And I'll talk to you guys later.